What's up, guys? Welcome back to Budget Baseball. I'm one of your co-hosts, Sammy Meadows. This is your co-host, Quinlan Sweeney. And today, we're going to cover week 2 of the Major League Baseball season for the A's. Quinlan, how was your week, man? Missed you, buddy.
it was better. It was better than last week, that's for sure. I mean, last time we came on the pod, we were 0-4. This last 5 games that we got since the last pod are 3-2. So, you know, we're definitely we're inconsistent with the bats. We can say that. But last time we were pretty much non-existent. So inconsistent is better than non-existent. Let's
Progress.
keep that going. Maybe at some point we'll be consistently good and be the top 6 lineup that we think we have.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. To our audience, um, just want to apologize for just being so negative on the last podcast. I mean, we were so down. There was nothing to root for. No pitching, or pitching was fine, but hitting was just like you said, non-existent. And then we're also eyeing Aaron Savali going into the next game. We're like, oh man, this
Hey,
could be
hey, I
rough.
said I said we're facing TBD the next day. We're gonna find a way to win, and you know what we did.
Yeah, we won, baby. Game two of the Braves series. Aaron Savali pitches wonderfully. He gave up, I think, an early home run to Drake Baldwin, and then
Yep.
think later on got into some trouble, but minimized and only gave up one more run after that solo jack. But I mean, Savali did a great job of staying ahead in counts, executing his cutter. That was a pitch that was really massive for him, especially against like Olson and a couple of the other lefties.
Yeah.
Um, did a great job getting ahead, and then actually I think it was the bottom of the lineup that did really well that series. I think Carlos Cortez had a couple good hits, and then Andy Ibanez was the player of the game with 2
Yep.
RBI singles. Um,
Yep.
yeah,
I think it was really the bottom of the order, and then I think Wilson at the top of the order there got to do some damage. You know, it's if our bottom of the order hits like that and the top of the order starts coming alive, that lineup's going to be so deep and so hard to beat.
yeah,
I think it's going to be interesting to see. Like I think you have a whole spring training to get used to pitching, seeing live arms, but for some reason the A's just came out and it seemed like they hadn't seen live arms yet for that
yeah,
first few games. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be a growing process, but hopefully they do it quickly. It seems like they're doing it a little bit right now. I think it's kind of approach. It's kind of just trying to figure out how pitchers are attacking them, honestly, and then
yeah.
as they learn that, then they'll find a way to get hot. I think, but
Yeah.
it's going to take some time, and just hopefully it doesn't take too long for them to get hit in their stride.
Yeah, I think game 2, sorry, of the Brave series was kind of foreshadowing for how the weekend was going to go. That bottom part of the lineup was doing a great job of getting on base and having timely hitting for the heart of the lineup getting on base, and then the bottom of the lineup bringing them in. Or before the season started, we talked about how Lawrence Butler is going to be a key factor in this lineup, and I think Lawrence Butler and the guys around him lower in the lineup have proven that's proven to be true. If the lower part of the lineup's hitting, it's going to be hard to beat us. Even if we walk 20 guys a game. But uh, yeah, so great first win of the year. Aaron Savali pitched great. Some great timely hitting. Overall, pretty solid team win. So we were kind of hoping game 3 of the series would sort of be a good momentum builder. We'd see if we could tack on another win. Sevy, who pitched really well in Toronto, was going up against the Braves, who were still a great lineup, but going into the series, I wasn't as worried about it. But man, Sevy really struggled, man. I mean, he was not throwing strikes, falling behind. I think he walked like 6 guys or something
Something
in
close
his
to
like
that, I
4 innings.
think.
It was brutal, man.
It was a lot of what we saw in the first inning against the Blue Jays. I think he just kind of threw that together for an entire start. Which you do that consistently, you're going to be walking guys, you're going to get shelled a little bit, and it's going to be a bad result. Honestly, that game was kind of it had to be a Severino gem, or we weren't really going to have a chance because Sale was pretty great in that game. And if you can locate good off speed stuff early in the year against the A's right now, it seems like you're going to be in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Chris Sale, we kind of knew that Chris Sale was going to be a tough matchup anyways, especially this early in the year after seeing what they did in the Toronto series. But yeah, I think some guys put up some good swings, but ultimately I think we got like 2 or 3 hits the whole game. I think Andy Ibanez got robbed of a home run at some point in the game. So I mean, I think that would have been big for him had that not gotten caught. I
Yeah.
think coming off a 2 RBI performance the game before and then hitting a home run, we'd probably be seeing a whole lot more of them right now, to be quite frank. But um, Langoliers hit a bomb, and it pretty much was the same story as the whole Blue Jay series, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Not much to clamor about and be excited about, but we got to win on the road, is what it is. But with that, going into the next series, coming into home, we hit really well at home last year. It's hard to pitch at home. The Astros series, Astros did pretty good going before the A's series. I think they split with the Angels 2-2, but I think they swept the Red Sox or handled them very easily, and they actually got to crochet pretty good. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. The A's had a tall task going to the series. What were your thoughts going in?
My thoughts going in were getting to go home was going to be a good advantage to have. Just maybe gets you some comfort. Obviously, last year it wasn't necessarily a comforting place for the A's, but having that year under your belt there, it becomes you get more used to it. Um, and I thought we had a shot to win the series. I didn't necessarily think we were going to win the series, but I thought we had a solid shot to win the series. It was the series itself, man, was just flip a coin as to which team you're going to see on that day, um, for both teams. And so honestly, the teams kind of mirrored each other throughout the series in a lot of facets: hitting, bullpen, starting pitching. Obviously, starting pitching, the I guess both teams did have one good start, so respect to them there. But it was an interesting thing to see. I think the Astros are actually kind of a team that the A's can compare to right now,
Mm-hmm.
based off the way they're built. They're built to score runs. Their bullpens are, thrown together a little bit. Um, Obviously, the Astros might have some more upper echelon arms, but Hunter Brown being out kind of takes that down for the Astros, obviously.
Yeah.
But it shows you that you can compete with the teams at the top of your or near the top of your division, and so it's a good sign to see. Obviously, it's at home, so you should have a slight advantage at home, but it's something that you can build on moving forward. But I had a feeling we were going to go 1-2 or 2-1 in the series. We were going to split the series in some capacity, and glad it ended up on the good side, especially after that ending to the game yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, game one. Yeah, going into the series, I mean, for me, yeah, just seeing what was to come after the series really made me worried about this series. Like we had
Mm-hmm.
to come out with two in order to keep. I mean, otherwise we're digging ourselves a hole, a giant hole, because we got to play the Yankees and Mets in New York. So this was a division series where we have to really take advantage of the home field advantage and, maybe the energy of the home opening series, just taking advantage of that, and kind of forgetting what happened before. So yeah, game one, Springs was coming off of a pretty great start in Toronto as well. Very hostile environment. Came in there and shoved and fought through some traffic. And going into the series, I did think this was our best chance to win because Springs is pretty good against the Astros in his career. Um, he actually does pretty solid against the whole AL West as a whole. But yeah, I thought that this was a good matchup for us. I thought Springs was going to be great, but yeah, he pretty much proved what I was thinking. I mean, he went 6 innings, 1 run. I think it was on a sacrifice fly by Jordan Alvarez. I think in the second inning or the third inning. But outside of that, he was I think he had 7 strikeouts and maybe 1 walk. So he did a great job of limiting base runners and just not letting the Astros offense do that damage that they could do. Um, Something I really liked was his pitch mix. Um, as a whole, uh, very fastball heavy. Um, but as you could see, the Astros were really struggling with that fastball and changeup mix. He 51% of the time he was throwing a four seam. Changeups was 22%, slider was 16, and sweeper was 11. And it kind of stayed true multiple times through the lineup. But something you and I talked kind of offline was how much ride he has on his fastball, and while he doesn't get much whiff on it, he does get a lot of weak contact and fly balls on it, and I think that kind of helped keep the Astros off balance. Yeah,
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I think the combination of like a solid ride fastball with a good changeup that he locates relatively well. Sure, he throws the uncompetitive one outside, way outside to a righty every once in a while, but if you can consistently locate your four seam with ride and then a good changeup, you're going to probably get a good amount of fly balls and weakly hit fly balls. So I think it's definitely one of his better attributes, combining that ride fastball with the changeup. I think, that might even go into the next day's pitcher because it seems like, as covered earlier on this channel by Straight A's, the
shout out.
the organization has maybe made a shift towards more sinkers, cutters, and it might not be working out as well for some other guys metrically. So what did you see on Luis on Saturday in the absolute? Just
Oh boy, man. Well, as you know, we didn't have to watch this one on TV.
nope.
Quinlan and I were at the game on Saturday, and we were really excited because we were like, the A's are back. They're hitting at home. We're gonna watch an absolute shootout. Luis Morales is gonna bounce back, and he did not bounce back. Luis Morales, unfortunately, has just been sent down to AAA, and I think a lot of it has to do with his performance in the game that we watched on Saturday.
Yeah.
Uh, so to break down his pitch mix, 34% four seam, sinker 25%, which was way up from last year. Changeup was also way up from last year at 14%. Sweeper is also at 14%, and then you got a slider, which is at 13%. His total strike percentage, Quinlan, was 49%. So he threw more balls than strikes. Now, that doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter. It does matter because
It matters a lot.
you give up a ton. It matters a lot, especially if you're giving up runs. It's one thing if you're stranding runners somehow, but it's really an issue when you're throwing strikes and you're not getting any whiffs either.
Yeah.
Uh, Four seam fastball whiff percentage. You want to take a guess on what that was? Over under. It's single digits.
Yeah, I don't like 5.
0%. Sinker. You want to know his whiff percentage was with the sinker.
I'll give him a respectful 5% again.
0%. So, changeup.
He's
Any
going to throw his
whiff?
changeup mostly to lefties, and I know he only threw one pitch for a strike to lefties. So I'm going to say 0%.
0%. Sweeper. Any guesses?
I'm just going to go with 0.
0%.
We did notice that
Slot.
his sweeper and sliders were a lot of arm side misses or
Yes.
just really bad misses anyway. So pretty hard
Yes.
to get whiffs on those.
Slider. Take a guess.
Did he get a whiff?
He did.
There we go. 7%.
He got 20% because he only threw 5 true sliders. The rest were considered
Okay.
sweepers. Sorry, 5 sliders for strikes. That is sorry. 5 sliders that are strikes. Only one of them was swung and missed. So he had 1 whiff all game long. That leaves a total whiff percentage of 4%.
Pretty good.
Pretty good. No,
If you're
not
the
what you want.
Astros.
Especially, yeah, pretty good if you're the Astros. Something you definitely don't want, especially at Sutter Health Park, is contact. And Luis Morales has very very fast fastball. He's got electric stuff, but his sinker, he just seemed to not have confidence with that, and then he almost kind of limits what he's going to be throwing for strikes after that. And teams are pretty much just sitting either sweeper or four seam after that, and it's just a nightmare all around. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think as you covered it, his or you shared this information with me earlier. His sinker's got what 12 vert break and 12 horizontal
Yeah, 12 and 14, but yeah,
and 14. I mean, basically, if you don't know this, if your fastball is between 12 and 14 vert, I mean, this is a sinker, so usually a sinker would be way below or much below 12 for vert. Um, that's called like the dead zone, especially when your vert and horizontal break are like really close to each other. So 12 and 14 are pretty close. That just means he's throwing a really hittable, like two seamish fastball sinker that doesn't really sink all that much. So it's just really hittable. So that's where I have concerns with if the A's are truly making an organization wide shift. Like if you have guys that don't have a good sinker, and that's the type of fastball you're trying to shift them towards, I think that doesn't make sense.
yeah,
So, but his fastball, I think you said he had 16 inches of vertical break on average. That's
yeah,
that's respectable ride, but it's not like anything special. Um,
yeah,
so
yeah,
obviously, if the A's don't think he has a special four seam metrically, then they wanted to find something else that's going to get hit better. I mean, worse in like accounts he's behind in.
yeah.
So it's tough. It wasn't very fun to watch. He didn't have his off speed pitches whatsoever or his breaking balls. So it was just really trying to throw a hittable pitch for a strike or walk them on off speed pitches. So it was pretty tough to watch.
Yeah, I think, like to your point, I think it's all good to kind of build your organization to throw a lot of fast or sinkers and cutters, but you kind of have to build it from the ground up that way. I think that's asking a lot for a guy who's went through the minor leagues pitching one way, and then all of a sudden you expect him to shift in one the next year. I think, like we said, his four seam is respectable. I think it rides decently. It's not like the 18 plus that everyone wants, but I think his sweeper is also really good too. He's got a decent sweeper and a decent slider, and I think those could play off each other. I think the real issue here is that changeup kind of work the other way, and maybe even a cutter also possibly is something he could looking or looking to kind of work on maybe next off season, because I think with someone who has you know a fastball that's in the upper 90s, I think you'd think his cutter would be pretty good. So I don't know. I think that's something that the A's should really kind of work on, and when he's in AAA and with his confidence and command. I think he's young, so I think he can come back and bounce back. And I think because he's young, he's not quite stuck in his ways. He could still learn. He could still grow. Uh, yeah, so it was just an absolute abysmal game too. Offense was equally bad as the pitching
Yeah,
staff.
that one was a tough one. I feel like sure we want them to fight. We want the offense to fight in that game and try to stay in it. But they're seeing a pitcher that maybe they don't have the best scouting report on. They're facing a slider that for some reason is breaking the other way. Um, really, just kind of probably confusion for the hitters a little bit on some of that. And then when you're down 7-0 in the fourth, it's understandable that the hitters might have a lapse of focus, and then it just snowballs. Sure, we don't want to see it, but I don't think it's some unexpected thing to see from a team when their pitching is walking so many guys in a game that it's really hard to stay locked in that long when you're in the field watching walk after walk after walk. So
Yeah.
it's a tough thing. Obviously, we would have liked to see the hitters stay engaged and find a way to tack on a few runs to make it respectable. I mean, I'm sure the score would never would have been respectable, honestly, but it would have been nice to see some offense. But then again, it's not necessarily expected for them to when they have to be subject to such terrible pitching on the day.
Yeah, I like you said, the defense falls asleep. We saw that with Muncie. Kind of some
And
I think
Soderstrom,
he
yep.
missed two. Yeah, Soderstrom in left field dropped the fly ball, a little sun ball in left field. Still no excuse. You got to catch it. But then you see things like Muncy missing two ground balls under his glove. And it's just ugly. I think we walked 13 guys on game two, so not pretty whatsoever. The exact opposite of what happened in the first day. Um, just not what you want to see, man. Just not what you want to see at all. But some highlights where Muncy got a couple hits. You saw that. Although he made some errors, I appreciated him not taking that into his next couple of bats because I think he made an error and always followed it up with a hit in his next
Yeah.
at bat, which does tell you a lot about a young player.
He likes to
And
hit.
he likes to hit, man. Unfortunately, we got a lot of those guys who like to hit and can't
Yeah,
field.
we got a
So
lot of DH
uh,
candidates, and you only have one DH. So
yeah, I know, and we'll get to that DH here soon in Game 3 because he did a great job. But
yeah,
kind of going into Game 2, it's frustrating, and you and I talked about it. Like it just looks like there's no fight, and we're like, man, like when is it? When is enough enough? You know, like we don't want to see the same season over again. Last year, the A's were leading the league in walks in the first half of the year, and they were just the pitching staff could not stop the bleeding ever. So what like after that game, we were driving back home. We were just sad the whole time, you know. But there was a report that came out that you know the A's clubhouse was pissed off after that game, and I think it gets highlighted by Mark Kotze's interview after Game 2, saying like that was a terrible performance. That's much more of a reflection of who we were last year at the start of the year, and not who we are now. And then later on, we find out that Brent Rooker chucked a chair across the clubhouse or whatever he did, you know, and that's not what Brent Rooker's known for. But that's the kind of fire that I want to see from this A's team, you know, especially from someone like Brent Rooker, who's a little bit more even keeled and is not so up and down. He's the leader of the clubhouse, and for the young guys to see that, I think that's the kind of thing that can kind of take us to the next step, you know, that work ethic. So with that, Game 3 is going to tell us a lot about this A's team. Do they have some kind of resilience? Any kind of resilience, you know, any kind of adversity? Like what do they what did you think going into Game 3? Were you hopeful? Were you kind of depressed?
I was hopeful. Obviously, I was down from the last game, but it's the MLB. They teams have bad games, and the next day they come back and play great. I mean, not saying they necessarily played great the next day, but the bats were alive, so that was good. Um, but I actually want to make a point about that. Like, you know, the the clubhouse can be down because they know how embarrassing it was. I mean, they had their fans in Sacramento chirping them because of their
Yeah,
performance. Like it was,
myself
they
included.
you weren't chirping as much as some other fans were, but I mean, guys yelling at Kotze, yelling at the young guys making errors. Like it was pretty chirpy, and I they could hear it because the stadium's pretty quiet in that walk fest that we were watching. So
Yeah.
so I mean, guys yelling about the pitchers and taking them out and all that stuff about Morales, which obviously he's down now, so it was pretty
Yeah.
merited, obviously.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't necessarily confident in a win the next day, but I was plenty hopeful that they could get it done. I thought I probably gave us like a 40% chance to win the day after that, which they found a way. Obviously, Rooker had to finally found some luck with his bat. He's just kind of been hitting the ball at bad launch angles and in tough spots, and finally he found just a little bit of lift on it, and
Just enough.
just enough. It wasn't a high lift day for him. Like they were pretty low
Mhm.
launch angle home runs, but it was still he was hitting the ball hard, and he has been hitting it hard. Just kind of has had some bad luck to this point.
And I think that's kind of a reflection of who he kind of is as a player. I think every year he kind of struggles with that. You know, one, putting bat on ball the first few games. I mean, we saw that this year. But then two, once he started hitting the ball, he was kind of, you know, hitting a couple singles here and there, like he did in the Atlanta series.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually, once he got one, you know, that's when he kind of hit his stride. You know, so I'm kind of hoping that we see that in the future. But the matchup was Jacob Lopez, Lance McCullers. Lance McCullers was coming off a great start, kind of a, you know, back to his prime. performance before that, and I was worried because I think his pitch mix doesn't, it's a bad matchup for the A's. I think, with a sinker, you can front door lefties, back door righties with it, and then you can go, you got he's got a pretty good breaking mix. I was thinking about guys like Rooker, Shea, or Max Muncy, guys that kind of wave at that pitch a lot. I was really worried about that, and at the start he was kind of throwing off throwing us off balance, but eventually, as we know, the A's got to him. But Jacob Lopez, a guy I really wanted to see improve on his last start. He had a really bad first inning in his first start in Atlanta, and settled down later on. And this outing was kind of the opposite a little bit. I think he started off really sharp and then kind of just fell apart a little bit near the end, but still an improvement on the last series.
Yeah.
Pitch mix was 35% fastball for overall, 35% fastball, 22% slider, 15% changeup, 15% cutter, which is interesting, and then 13% sinker, which is very interesting from him.
Mm-hmm.
Something I wanted to note with Jacob Lopez is he actually changed the way he was approaching hitters multiple times through the lineup. For example, four-seam fastball is 46% first time through. The second time through is only 28%, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And then you start to see um, the slider take more of effect and the changeup to take more of effect in the second time through the lineup. Slider, a little bit more, 28%, as opposed to the 26% in the first time through. But the changeup went from 5% first time through to 22%. And I think I appreciate that kind of stuff from a young pitcher like him, because it tells me, yes, I did well the first time through, but this is a good lineup and I got to adjust. Now, he did struggle the second time through the lineup, so maybe he overcorrected or kind of overcompensated a little bit too
Mm-hmm.
much there. But overall, kind of played with fire a little bit at the end of his outing and ended up coming back to bite him with the Jordan bomb. But
Yeah.
overall, I'm content with his start because he kept us in the game.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's had some trouble walking guys to start the year for sure. He's put a lot of traffic out there, but he also hasn't got hit very hard to start the year. So, his stuff plays pretty well. It's just if he could just limit the walks, I mean, I think he'd be set for a really good season because his stuff doesn't get hit hard. I mean, sure, he occasionally gives up a home run after he's walked guys. He's put himself in a bad spot, but in general, his hard hit percentage is not that high. Like he doesn't get hit that hard. So it's going to be important for him to just try to build off of it and try to correct the things that have gone wrong. I think him throwing more cutters and sinkers is going to also be growing pains here and there with command issues and walks and put himself in a tough spot. But you know what? I'm not going to say it doesn't pan out for him in the long run with those pitches. So because he can mix those up different times through the order, keeps hitters off balance more so than just the fastball and changeup / slider mix.
Yeah.
But it's going to be interesting to see. He's gonna give us something out of the fourth spot in the rotation. Like it's not going to be an automatic loss when he goes out there. He's going to compete. So that's always a
Yeah.
good thing to have.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy he's a fun rubber game matchup, pitcher. And yeah, I think honestly, maybe in the future, if he wants to kind of mix up his pitches more one time through the lineup and then you kind of go the opposite effect, I think that you'll see more swing and miss second time through the lineup that way. Or at least, because you see them kind of seeing these different kind of pitch mixes that move a lot more, but then you get the second time through, all of a sudden you're getting a straight fastball that, rides because of his extension, gets on you a little quicker. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, overall, offense, the lineup kind of fought back, man. We're down 3-0, put up a 5 spot in the fifth inning. A lot of it has to do with, walks, getting ahead in counts. The bottom part of the lineup did a great job of getting on. And yeah, man, what are your thoughts on the lineup in game 3?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it just has to do with being patient and finding the right pitches to hit because let's be honest, we haven't done a lot of hitting behind in counts. I mean, even in counts, we're probably hitting between 150 and 200. I didn't get the numbers on what we're hitting even in counts, so in like 0-0, 1-1, 2-2. But behind in counts as a team, this is a little stretch to say as a team, but the usual starting 9 plus Cortez, we're hitting 13. We're 13 for 120 in counts we're behind in. So that's 108. Our average is 108. And I mean, obviously, I don't think we've even been hit by a pitch yet. So our OBP is 108 in counts that we're behind. So that's pretty terrible. That shows you how important it is to not be behind in counts as a lineup. And then we're 20 of 75 or for a 267 average when we're ahead in counts. So obviously much improved. It's still not that necessarily that good because, let's be honest, the offense hasn't been amazing to start the year. But obviously when you're ahead in counts, your OBP is way higher because all those walks are counting. Like Kurtz has a 0 average ahead in counts, but his OBP ahead in counts is 688. So when he gets ahead in counts, I think that's kind of a testament to when he gets ahead in counts, they're kind of just giving up on the at bat and pitching around him and walking him, which, that's a fine thing for him to do because of where he's at in the order and who's behind him. But also we want to see him hit. And for the most part, it's just been even in counts that he's hitting, even in counts or behind, but obviously behind it's not been too great. Mm-hmm. But other guys that are succeeding ahead in counts, Shea's hitting 462 with a 563 OBP ahead in counts. He's 6 for 13. He's had, for the most part, more at-bats where he's ahead in counts. So he's just been a little bit better at laying off pitches early in at-bats that are outside the zone than other guys have been. Soderstrom's 333 with a 571 OBP when he's ahead in counts. Muncy's 375 with the 444. Even Denzel Clark's 375 with the 500 OBP when he's ahead in counts. It's just it just shows like how much we succeed when we have a better idea of what's coming, or just, the pitcher has to come to you. He has to throw a strike, honestly, in those situations. Whereas when the pitcher doesn't have to throw a strike, we're pretty bad because we chase at such a high rate right now. Like, here's these chase percentages that I got for you. Wilson, 52% chase rate. That's absurd. Like, that's so high. And he's always behind
the pitches in the zone.
What?
That's not even accounting for the pitches in the zone, huh?
No. That's just pitches outside the zone. He's swinging it 52% of the time. And listen to this stat on him. He's got 4 at-bats where he ended ahead in the count on the season. He's 0 for 4 in those. And he's 3 for 21 in at-bats where he ended behind in the count. He's got 21 at-bats where he ended behind in the count. The next most on the team is 12. So he's just behind in the count all the time because of how aggressive he is, and he's swinging at terrible pitches. So he needs to find some type of discipline. Not saying he needs to be perfect discipline. He can still swing at pitches, sliders outside the zone that he can poke the other way and all that stuff. He can do that. But he cannot be this crazy rate of being behind in counts because he's never going to hit 300 doing what he's doing right now. Other chase rates. Muncy, 38. Makes sense. He's swinging at these off-speed pitches outside the zone. He needs to, as much as he can get ahead in this count, it's really important for him because he does seem to be hammering pitches inside the zone. But when you throw him outside the zone, he has a good chance that he's going to chase. Rooker, 36%. A lot of that was the Toronto series, probably, I would have to assume. Yeah. Sodi, 33%. He's getting chasing sliders low, off like splitters, changeups, fastballs high. He's just chasing a little bit. He's being a little too aggressive. Shea, also 33%. A lot of his are sliders low and then fastballs high. I think a lot of teams are attacking him with 2 strikes, fastballs high, because he's showing himself willing to go up there and up the ladder, and he's not able to catch up to that fastball like 6 or 7 inches above the zone. And then Butler, 33%, chasing quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Not a good sign. Even McNeil is chasing 31%, so he's chasing more than half the league is chasing. Wow. Weirdly, the tied or even slightly better than Kurtz at not chasing. Curse has been 72nd percentile, chasing around 25.8%. I think I saw. Denzel Clark is chasing only 25.6%, which is, if he's going to have any value, it's going to be because he's not chasing, because he needs to be even or ahead in counts as much as possible. Because if he's behind, he's a mental head case with no ability to anticipate, or he's guessing too much maybe. But it's going to be something to watch. If we can see these chase percentages come down, I think the more we see these come down, getting closer to the league average, the A's lineup is going to explode. And I think for quite a few of them, that chase percentage is going to come down. I think Soderstrom's going to come down. I think Rooker's going to come down. I think Shea might come down just a hair. McNeil should come down. Yeah. Wilson should come down from 52, but maybe not. Maybe not below 40, because the guy just likes to swing. But I think as that chase percentage comes down, you're going to see us get ahead in more counts, and just the overall success of the lineup happen. I think as the season moves on, some pitchers are going to have more bad days where they're not so electric, where everything's around the zone and you're swinging at pitches just outside the zone and putting yourself in bad counts. So I think that's going to, as the season moves on, you'll see just the progression of the lineup. But it's definitely concerning how bad we are behind in counts, and just the fact that we're chasing to get into those bad counts. So it's something to watch as we move forward. See, just watch and see how many guys are working counts and getting into good counts where they can hit. Because if you see that, I think the more times than not, the guys that are working the counts and getting into the good counts are going to be doing a lot more damage than the other guys.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great breakdown in the lineup. I think this lineup, I think a lot of those percentages have probably gone down, since this lineup, or since this series. That was a lot of that damage was done in the first two series. So that goes to show how brutal they were in the first two.
Yeah, but I'd also highlight that the game against Imai, we probably chased quite a bit.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of pitches below the zone that we were chasing, and unfortunately we were taking pitches that were in the zone in that game. So it was kind of a combination of the two problems that just kind of made it real hard on us that day.
If anything, it highlights, the issue, but it also highlights the solution for the lineup, and I think the next day they were a little bit more patient with McCullers and, the Astros bullpen. So
yeah, I think his stuff is, I know you actually mentioned that you thought he wasn't going to be a good matchup. I think the fact that he's got a sinker guy is actually a good thing, because the A's have a real big weakness at the top of the zone, I feel like.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
If you can get a guy that's going to try to attack more low, I think they're going to be in a better spot. I think going into the season, I was more of like under the impression that breaking ball guys like McCullers would be a tougher matchup. But I honestly think that's only if they locate really well, and if they have pretty like electric like four seam. So like what Cease showed us was pretty tough to touch. Gosman was four seam at the top of the zone and split it below the zone. Obviously, we didn't like the approach, but that stuff played really well against our weaknesses. So I don't know if McCullers was the worst matchup for us, but I think he kind of lost his command a little bit as the game went on, and that's when the A's started to build something, and that it really pans out. It's when the A's just find a way to get ahead in more counts, they're going to have success, which, I mean, you can say that about pretty much any team in baseball. But when your team is chasing at the rate the A's are, that's what you need to see improve for the team, for the lineup as a whole to improve.
Yeah, 100%. Before we kind of go and briefly talk about, what's to come this week, is there a player on the A's that you've maybe like appreciated in the first three series of the year? Someone that's, is a highlight for you?
It's tough to break anybody down that well. But I've liked what Cortez has done in his small opportunities. I like that he's showing that he's pretty much the same guy as he was last year. Yeah. That's a necessary bat at the bottom of the order that can really just make it easier for our top of order to have more RBI opportunities.
Yeah.
I obviously I like Muncy at the plate, but the fact that he's been so terrible on defense has soured his overall impact to me a little bit, because our staff is going to struggle so much if you give free outs away all this often. I mean, he's hitting it like I think he said it's like somewhere like 85 to 89th percentile hitting run value, but his fielding run value, he's first percentile. He's doing that terrible. Like, he's hurting the team that badly. So I'd like to see if he can learn how to play third base average, he's going to be really impactful, and I'm really happy to see what he's given us. But I have concerns that he might not figure it out.
Yeah.
And I think just the left side as a whole defensively is kind of concerning right now with Soderstrom out there. I talked about this in the podcast that earlier episodes. I don't have any clue how he graded out as above average, because he looks so uncomfortable doing everything.
Yeah. This weekend was rough too.
Every time he goes into a corner, he looks so uncomfortable. Every time he comes up on a ball to field the ground ball and throw it, he looks uncomfortable, and he pretty much misses the ball.
Yeah.
It's concerning that he's having these kinds of problems right away, and I don't know how he was so good metrically last year, because I didn't see it last year either. Maybe it was the way the center fielders were playing around him that made him grade out better. But man, it's a little concerning to see some of the defensive issues that we have, because if we keep on getting out defended by everybody, even if our lineup is mashing, it's going to be hard to win a lot of games. I mean, sure, you can compete to like a 75 win record when you're scoring 6 runs a game, maybe, but you're not going to. If your defense is this poor, you're going to throw away a lot of possible wins.
Yeah. I think I'm with you there. Since you went hitter, I'm gonna go pitcher. I mean, Jeffrey Springs is the guy that I'm gonna go with here.
Yeah.
I think he's picking up right where he left off last year, and I like to see him using that slider more, and the sweeper as well. Throwing those in the double-digit percentiles. I mean, that's a big deal. So guys you're just not you're not a two-pitch guy, one-trick pony with your changeup.
Yeah.
I think those pitches set up the changeup well, and I think he's doing a good job of mixing that up. Because as we mentioned, his fastball, while it's not super hard, it does ride well, and it does play a lot. A couple ticks harder than it actually is. So yeah, overall won the series against Houston Astros, which is always awesome. First place Houston Astros, by the way, which is very good. So now the A's are flying across the country to go play in New York. I think they're playing the Yankees first. Just give me a quick rundown what you think's the A's need to do to pick up a game.
Oh boy, we better hope we win a game against the Yankees. Their pitching staff is pretty good. So the concerns are our chase rate stays similar. They attack us. Their starters get to go 6 or 7 innings. Keep it real light on their bullpen, and the pressure is then on our pitchers to match
it again.
And they could. Savali could be efficient, give us 5 or 6 for 1 or 2 runs, but then again, Judge might take him yard twice, and you're in a bad spot. But I think there's plenty of opportunity to win one of those games. It just depends on the lineup being patient one day and finding a way to claw 4 or 5 across, and one of your starters has a good day, and then your bullpen arms find a way. But I definitely think the Mets series is more winnable. Sure, they're top of their order. It's pretty electric, but Soto is on the IL now, so that helps a little bit. Catching them at a decent time. They don't scream as good pitching to me right now as the Yankees do. Sure, they have some solid arms, but Nolan McLean's weaknesses are control a little bit command. So possibly I don't even know if he's going to be a projected starter for that series, but if he were to be a guy that we face, it's a possible that's better and more of a strength for us than others. So I think the Mets are a little bit more winnable, but I'm hoping that we win 2 games in the on the road
Yeah.
trip. But I
Yeah,
mean,
so
obviously 3 would
McLean's
be a beauty.
yeah, obviously you want to at least go 3-3 on this road trip. McLean's not pitching, thankfully. That seems like a nightmare
Mm.
scenario for us, with a great sweeper. But yeah, I think uh what's his name? Big right-hander for the Yankees, Cam Schlittler. He's gonna be a. I think that's a guy who's had two great starts in a row. Very fastball heavy, um, very upfront with it. So if the A's could lay off that high fastball, I think they could take advantage and maybe sneak game one out. Um, then again, Savali's pitching, and you know how that goes in New York. A guy like him, but we do have Severino going game two against Warren, who's had a couple good starts as well. So maybe you see some regression from these Yankees pitchers, and some positive regression for the A's lineup. So maybe it's just they're due for one or two. But then you also see Ryan Weathers. We do see him, but we see Jeffrey Springs as well. So I think honestly the Yankees matchups aren't as bad as we think, but it is still a little bit of a tall task. But yeah, the Mets series, the Mets have some solid pitchers too. Um, we do face Holmes. We face him. But again, another guy who started off hot, and everyone else in the Mets that we're facing has started off hot as well. So you might see some regression from these pitchers, man. And I think it's just one of those things where it doesn't make sense for us at all on paper, but we might end up winning, 2 to 3 games on this
Yeah.
road trip. And if they do that, they do come back home playing against, I think it's the White Sox and the Rangers. Yep, the White Sox and Rangers. So that'd be a uh, big momentum boost going back home. But what are your predictions on this road trip?
I'd probably predict 2-4. It's
Two and
just
four.
that's just the expectation at this point, unless the lineup just absolutely dominates. I
Yeah.
think we're going to be. I think the inconsistency is still going to show at the plate. So we might sneak one game. We might score 10 runs in a game and win one game per series. But I'm not going to go out there and project we're going to go 500 against on the road to New York against 2 likely playoff teams. So
Hmm.
I think being able to win one in each series would be something to build off of.
Yeah, I think so going to next week's video, we'll kind of compare our predictions, but I'm guessing 3-3. I'm gonna be
There you go.
optimistic
Hey,
here.
I mean, I hope you're right. I don't. I would much rather you be right than me on that
Yeah,
one.
I think we take one in New York against the Yankees, and then
And then
two in New
2 in
York
New York.
against the Mets. So, um, yeah, I think we'll end up. It's going to be another momentum building moment for us. I think it's going to teach this team that they can compete at any level, and I think it'll be. This is just optimistic to me. I think it's going to set the tone for the rest of the year. Um, but yeah, I think that'll pretty much do it for budget baseball.